Today I'll be talking about the basic workbench setup every gun owner, or especially new gun owner, should get for his or her workbench. So the first step would be to get some kind of cleaning mat. This can be made out of this textile or synthetic. The point here is that you just have something padded to protect your rifle and also protect the table beneath. You don't want your gun to scratch the table or vice versa. And the nice thing here too is that if you get some oil on it, it will soak up and not leave a mess. So first of all, get something nice. I, for my videos, usually use cardboard just because you can see the single parts better. I mean, this looks nice, right? You have the explosion diagram, you can see all the parts and their name. But if you have small tiny parts, like let's just say this tiny spring, it's kind of hard to see it on this surface, right? So that's why I usually put some cardboard below so you can just see everything. Also, good lighting is very important, not only for making videos, but also seeing what you're doing here. So once you have your workbench and your mat, you're going to want to get some cleaning tools. And here, or generally in this video, I don't want to make any recommendations on specific brands or specific products, but I'm just going to tell you what I think is a reasonable thing to have, or an essential thing to have. And the most important thing is to get a good gun oil. And there's many different brands and they all claim to be better at something. But what I'm saying is just get a good gun oil, not just any lubricant, because some of them will collect dust and gunk up the whole system, so you definitely do not want that. So get a specific gun oil. Most of them will be just fine. Make sure to read some reviews and then do some testing for your own, what suits your needs, right? So very essential. And then for cleaning, obviously you can just get a paper roll and use that for cleaning. It's kind of a waste. I have a big basket of used old towels and like face towels and hand towels, and I use them and I can just throw them in the washing machine and reuse them. But whatever suits you best, right? So for detailing or like tight corners, to get into those nooks and crannies, you can use Q-tips. But what I really prefer and what I recommend you to get is those kind of brush kits. And as you can see, they come in different shapes. So this one's perfect for rails, and that one gets into that nook and cranny. And they all have their specific use case. You will see what you will actually need. And the good thing here is they come with two different types of bristles. So this one's out of nylon and is really good because it won't scratch your finish and still be abrasive enough to get some dirt away from there. And this one's the metal ones. I think this one's kind of bronze, which is really good for getting really carbonated stuff away from your gun, but this will scratch the finish, so only use that on bare metal, right? And the nice thing, those brushes have on the back side some kind of tool on the rear side, which you can use to clean really tight spaces. So this is really nice. If you have a rail, you can scratch the dirt out of there. And let's say this one is actually nice to clean the bolt face. So they all have their specific use case, and they will come in handy a lot of times. So I highly recommend to buy some kind of brush kit that has also those scraping tools on the other side. And staying with cleaning, what you should get next to obviously the included cleaning kit of your rifle is to buy some bore snakes, and they come in different calibers. And the nice thing here is that on one end they have this weight, so you just drop it in the barrel and physics will do the rest for you. And they have this included brush here, and you just pull that through the barrel a few times, obviously with some gun oil, and you pull it through the barrel a few times and your barrel will be squeaky clean. And it's a really nice and fast way to clean your barrel, and you will have to replace them at one point, but they don't cost a lot, and they'll make cleaning so much faster and more fun. So this is basically all you need for cleaning, but when it comes to disassembly or doing some modifications, adding a scope, you will need some tools, and we'll start with the most important one, some kind of precision screwdriver set. So you'll have different bits. Most of them you will encounter with optics or rails. So this is essential for every workbench. Shortly followed after your big pile of Allen wrenches you collected over the years. They range from tiny to huge, so you're probably not going to use that for any gun, but you'll encounter many different sizes, and it makes sense to collect them because it seems like every other manufacturer has their own preferences on how big those guys should be. So get some small container and make sure to collect all your Allen wrenches. You'll need them. Talking about wrenches, you'll probably want to invest into a torque screwdriver like this. Here you can select how big the force should be before it starts turning. So this means you can exactly apply a specific amount of torque on a screw, which is essential for specific mounts of optics especially. So here, I'm not going to tell you to buy the most expensive one, but here it makes sense to invest into a quality tool, like buy once, cry once. You know what I'm talking about. And it comes with different bits. It's a really nice thing to have. The next essential tool for your workbench is going to be some kind of kit of hooks. So I bought these, they were marketed as a car hook set. And what I'm trying to say here is it doesn't really matter that you always buy the tactical fancy gun accessories or tools. You can buy just any of them. They'll work for any other machine or device, right? And these hooks are really great to get into tight spaces, especially when you disassemble the AK hammer and trigger assembly. Check out my video on that. You will need some kind of hook to kind of grab the mainspring, and you can't get your fingers between there, and you don't really want to, so this is a very important thing to have. And it doesn't use much space, doesn't cost a lot either, so definitely worth your money. Then generally what you want to have is some kind of multi-tool, not only for your workbench, but especially if you go to the range. I've used this so countless times, like you want to get just a screwdriver, or you need your pliers, or you probably don't want to saw anything off, but just invest in a good multi-tool and it will last you a long time, will make you happy, and is a real essential if you're out on the range and you need to do some basic tinkering. The next thing you want to get if you start disassembling rifles and guns, handguns, is some kind of set of punches and a hammer. And make sure your hammer also, or you buy a second one, just has a rubber end on one side, so a rubber mallet, because you'll need that way too often. If something doesn't fit, you have to tap it, and you don't want to scratch the finish, you don't want to really break something, but you want to apply force, so a rubber mallet is really important here. And those punches, the more you have in different sizes, the easier it will be, say if you have the right size of a punch. And what I can recommend too is kind of getting this rest. So let's assume I have a pin I need to drive out, and I place my rifle on the surface of the table, and I can't drive the pin out because it's resting on the table. So if I put it on here, it doesn't wiggle because it has like this rubberized part. It's really nice. You can place on top, drive the pin out, and the pin will just be there and not get into the way of the table. So this is something. It's not important, but it's nice to have if you have the use case that you need to remove pins. Definitely get a good kit with punches in different sizes. So the next thing is Loctite. So we talked about screws and removing them and applying enough torque. Loctite or any other good thread locker is essential. If you have stuff that will be on there, so if you install your optic to a rail, you're probably not going to remove it anytime soon. And in order to have the screws and the bolts not move, you should apply a thread locker. Just read the instructions, and that will save you some headache with things loosening up that you don't want to. The next part for not taking apart, but doing your function testing, is to get some snap caps or dummy round, whatever you're going to call them, and they come in different calibers, right? And the good thing here is you can use it for dry firing at home for exercise, but also to do the function test. You want to see, does that magazine feed ammo correctly? It's a new mag, I'm not sure if it's compatible. And you don't want to do that with live ammo at home, so you just load in your dummy rounds, and you can cycle it a few times by hand, or you can see if the feed ramp's good, and you can see you can just do a lot of things in a safe manner, so definitely something you might want to consider buying. So we talked about cleaning, we talked about assembly, deassembly, pins and punches. bore snakes, the last thing I would recommend you to get is, obviously, if you have specific weapon systems that require specific tools, like this wrench for the AR buttstock, obviously you want to get an according tool. You can do it without it, but you will break something, you will hurt the threads on the buffer. What I'm trying to say is, if something doesn't work, get the proper tool without messing anything up. I've been there so many times, and I kind of learned my lesson after that. So if it requires special tools, buy them, and don't think you're MacGyver, especially with rifles or firearms you love. And the last thing is, what I can recommend you to have is some kind of gun bench like this one. So what this enables you is to have a way to fixate your rifle in an upward position, so you can actually work on it without having it hold it all the time. So this really helps you, especially also with cleaning. It's like your third hand you always need when you're working on stuff, so definitely get some kind of workbench like this. And something else that is important for workbenches is there's this little magnetic bubble level. So this will allow you to, if you want to mount a scope here, it's not on an AK because it has the side rail, right? But this will allow you to make sure that everything is straight when you're applying a scope. So this doesn't cost a lot and is really helpful if you're working with scopes or a mount of a flashlight or anything you just want to level it at. And in combination with the gun rest, this is an invaluable tool to have. So that's all there is to it. You'll have your basic setup to clean and maintain and do some basic repairs on your rifle. And I guess have fun on your new gunsmithing projects.